Welcome back to Tiny Grimes Games. I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny video, and Spoilers Week has moved into spoilers several weeks now as the spoilers kept rolling in. We have all kinds of exciting cards today to take a look at. First on the list is the Royal Guard, and this is something that I've really been wanting, is to have some sort of Guardian character that can pair with a character like Darth Vader. Or General Grievous, or any of these characters that have huge dice, and the whole deck is built around them, but when they die, they're in a little bit of trouble. Having a light side version of this would be great as well for somebody like Poe, or for Luke Skywalker. So, with the Royal Guard, we have this really cool guy. He has Guardian, which is what we're looking for. He is 9 cost, so he's that perfect amount to be able to pair with Vader. The problem is he's blue. So by making him blue, it really becomes then a mono blue deck, which can work fine. There's cards like No Mercy, of course, that really take advantage of this. But for those of you who have been following along with the other spoilers, there's a card that I talked about last time, or a couple times ago, Fast Hands, which allows a character to roll out and then immediately resolve. And that card is so strong for someone like Vader that it becomes difficult to go mono blue, but at least we have this option now. His health is only 8. I mean, he's got Guardian. You can't expect him to have that much more than that. His dice aren't bad. Melee 1, 2, and a +2. He also has 2 shields, which is quite relevant for a Guardian character. I really like the design of that he either does damage or he shields up to basically do what he is supposed to do, which is do damage and guard. So I like his design. I like how he works a lot. I think he'll see play. I'm not entirely sure what deck this is going to be yet. Is it going to be maybe a 3-character deck, and then you have the Royal Guard in there with Guardian, giving you another 21 points for something like Jabba the Hutt and a Stormtrooper? That could be relevant. Any other 14-point plus Stormtrooper, maybe a Dooku plus Stormtrooper. I'm not entirely sure yet where this is going to go. He could guard Unkar Pluot. Essentially, he may be able to make things like mill decks work. In fact, you could do Elite Jabba, Royal Guard, Stormtrooper. And having said that, that sounds really good for a mill deck. He does have this really bad downside. Can't play blue abilities. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work. I think you could still put a holocron on him, trigger a holocron, and put a blue ability on him because it says that ignores restrictions. That would be my guess. And so from that perspective, you can still do something like a mono blue Vader Royal Guard deck, still be able to put holocrons on the Royal Guard so that if Vader dies, which he might, and Royal Guard might be alive, that he can still do things. So it's an interesting card. I'm very happy it's in the pool. I'm not sure how much play it will see, but I'm hoping that eventually we'll get one of these Guardians for each color, giving us all these different options and opportunities. So I like where he's at. Next card we're going to look at today is the Astromech Droid. Astromech Droid's interesting. It's a support, and you can remove his die to turn a vehicle to any side. So what's awesome about that is he already has 2 focus. So if you roll his focus, you have lots of flexibility, right? You can switch whoever you want. And then if you don't, you can just simply remove his die and focus a special. Focus a vehicle's die. So I don't really know what to say about him. I'm very happy he's neutral, so that if there's any deck that becomes the vehicle deck, he can work in it, right? It'd be really cool to have something like a Veers, Astromech, Slave One, especially once we get tons of vehicles down the line, say 2-3 sets from now. You could easily see the Astromech mostly supports deck, right? Where it's just Astromech flipping these different supports to their different sides and doing cool stuff. I don't really know what to say about him. In Awakenings, he would be pretty much unplayable, I would say. He does have the 2 focus, which is really awesome for cards like All In. But I'm not crazy excited about him for 2. At 1, he would have been awesome. At 2, he feels like he needs to be in the right deck. He's not going to be everywhere. He's going to be that card that will do great in a deck. I don't know what deck that is yet. Vibro Knife is a really exciting card. This is a card, especially being neutral, that a lot of decks wanted. Not being able to have your melee dice messed with while this die is in your pool. Not what I kind of assumed a card like this would say is, while this die is in your pool and showing melee damage, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry, this is not messed with. It's your melee are unblockable. So this is really cool. You can do crazy cool stuff with this card with Ray. So you do something like put Ray out, put Luke's saber on Ray, and then roll out the Vibro Knife with ambush, right? You put it on Ray for 2, you roll her out, you then resolve your melee. Let's say you rolled the 3 with Luke's saber and the +2 with Ray, and you resolve those 5 as unblockable, and then you can resolve the Vibro Knife. I think even without any ability at all, this is a very exciting card. The fact that we have another melee weapon, right? We just don't have that many. It's at the 2 slot. It's neutral. It has ambush. It's gray. Every deck can use it. The ambush is really cool and will be able to help several decks, but really specifically, this is going to be great with Ray. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot less Ray's staff now and a lot more Vibro Knife going in that spot. I also do like its ability, depending on if shields become really big, if Dooku continues to be really important. A card like this really, really hurts Dooku. His whole thing is that he discards shields to stop damage. If you just laugh at him and do all your damage is unblockable, there's not a whole lot Dooku can do. So I think the card's really cool. I think it will definitely see play. If nothing else, it is a cheap melee weapon. Grievous loves this weapon. Ray loves this weapon. Vader maybe loves this weapon. I'm not entirely sure about Vader. Same with Luke. They didn't have options at 2. Everything was at 3, unless you wanted to pair with yellow and run a gaffy stick, which I really didn't like. And Luke didn't have that option at all. He had to run Ray's staff. So I just really love having another melee weapon at 2. It'll see play, and it's going to be good. All right, next on the list is a really, really, really strong card, Imperial Inspection. This card, wow. I mean, this card is one of the stronger cards in the set. And what I love about it is, does this make control viable? I don't know. I mean, this might. After one of your dice rolls a disrupt, remember, not resolves, because one of the problems with disrupt is, unless you're playing it with fast hands or something and you're first, you roll a disrupt, they spend their money. Yes, it was annoying, they didn't want to spend their money yet, but they spent it and you didn't get to do much. But this says, all I have to do is roll it. And then I get to exhaust it and return an upgrade that costs 2 or less to its owner's hand. That is absurd. You can think about it 2 ways. You can think of the negative side of it and say, well, it's not that great. So I return a cheap thing to their hand and they immediately replay it. Big deal. No, that is not at all how you think about this card. This card is a control card. Your opponent has a holocron. They roll out their special. You just roll your die that has disrupt on it. You hit the disrupt side, boom, you send the holocron back to hand. Yes, they're going to replay it. But guess what? The special's gone. The same thing, jetpack. They roll the +3. Disrupt, boom, jetpack's back in hand. The +3 is gone. Now, what's going to be really strong, I think, is if you can combine this with some sort of mill deck. Now, that's a tall order, because when you look at red, you don't think mill. If this card was yellow, oh my goodness, it'd be absurd. So it's going to be really interesting to see what decks we can put together that have disrupt on cards with mill. Will we see more spoiled in the set? We already have people like Unkar Pluit, or whatever his name is, who can do a little mill. He has 2 disrupt sides. Blackmail is a card that I think is going to go combine really well with this. This feels like something that will combine with yellow, But, I mean, something as simple as this. I'm playing Vader, and I go Vader, double trooper. There you go. That's 30 points. This is the old Vader I'm talking about who has the disrupt side on him. You play Imperial Inspection. Now he has a 2 damage, a 3 damage, and a side you're probably going to reroll that bounces one of their cards back to their hand. That's kind of crazy. So I feel like this is a card that is going to be really cool because it's not going to be that easy to build around. But whoever can put a deck together that can really use this card is going to be well on their way. I feel like this card is going to be incredible. I hope it's incredible. I hope this is a sign that yes, there is going to be a real control possibility, and I have high hopes for this card. All right, the next card is one I think I forgot last time to do. Yeah, not perfect. I know, it's shocking. Arms deal. Discard any number of weapons from your hand, then gain 1 resource for each you just discarded, and it's an event. If it was to support, then it could sit out and you could potentially get more. So if you do this, it's a tough card, right? Because you're getting rid of the weapons you want to be playing, right? Okay, that's tough. And then you're only getting 1 for each, and then you're whittling your hand away. So let's say you play this, discard 2 weapons to get 2 resources. You only have 2 cards left in hand. That means you're not going to be able to do much with those resources unless you want to spend those to play get another weapon you had this turn. Then you only have 1 card left for a reroll. So I don't really know what to say about this. I think there is going to be a deck at some point that's mostly weapons. If we see some cards that can really benefit from having a deck full of weapons, and I believe there is one. I'm just going to say that. I believe there is one. You could feasibly build a deck that's mostly weapons and then have 2 copies of this and just get, 3 resources on 1 turn, and maybe even do it with Boundless Ambition, right? You discard 3 weapons, you get $3, you pay Boundless Ambition, you refill your hand, and now you're ready to go. I don't know. It's a really interesting card. I love the design of it. It is definitely not going to be a card that goes in every deck. It's a very hyper-specific card that it may not even make it into the set. It may be a future card when we just have so many weapons that you can build a whole deck of weapons. From looking at the weapons spoiled so far, I'm not convinced we can make a weapons deck just yet. We'll have to see. All right. Friends in High Places is another really interesting card. So I like these cards that say you have to have so much showing. I feel like that adds a whole new element, and it sort of encourages this idea of, okay, all these sides aren't ideal, but it has a couple big sides, and these big sides are going to help me get there. So I like that, but it's a really situational card. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may play one of those cards for free, discard the others. Now, if you hit a Crime Lord, holy Toledo, that's amazing. If you hit a Reversal, if you hit a Slave 1, there's so many really expensive, awesome cards. And there's even some cheap cards that would be fine as well. So it's probably going to see play in quite a few decks because of that. The problem is it could easily be a trap card, right? Where it encourages you to have a bad curve and then get stuck with all these cards you can never play. And then you finally hit this and you're like, yes, I got my 1 free. Oh, are you kidding me? They're all 0s and 1s that time. Okay, I will probe you with my Friends in High Places play. Not exactly what you want to do. So I don't know about this card. It'll certainly go very nicely in a more resource intensive vehicles deck or supports deck or a mill deck that puts together a lot of resources because it wants to do something like Crime Lord or a Crime Lord. There's just so many opportunities where this card will probably find a spot. I don't think it goes in every deck, but I think it will definitely see play. I think it's a card that's going to be part of an archetype that you're building around. It's going to have a pretty important role, I think. All right, next card is Loose Ends with Ambush. It's always nice to know that. It is villain. Sorry, Han. Remove one of your dice showing range damage. Discard top 4 cards of an opponent's deck. Any of these cards are super important for mill decks. One of the really big problems for villain is it doesn't have a lot of cards outside of battlefields that let you discard off the top of your deck. And even if you can get rid of all 5 of their cards every turn from their hand, that's only what a 5 to 6 round game. That's enough time to kill you usually if they're rolling pretty well, if they're getting some upgrades down. So a lot of times it's not quite enough. You need to steal that one more turn, and having a card like Loose Ends will really help you do that. Being able to knock 4 cards off the top. It's one of the reasons why I always liked Hero Mill better, was because of Patience. Patience is just, even if it only hits 3 or 4 cards, fine. If it hits 10, oh man, that's 2 turns it just lopped off. So anytime you're able to knock off of their deck, I think it's going to be really good. And this is a tough card to play. It costs 2, and you have to have range showing. Mill decks aren't real keen on doing range damage usually, so it's going to be interesting to see what character suite this can fit into, what cards you're going to have to put into your deck to make this card happen. I love the design of it. I like that it's really situational because, or maybe not situational, but a little bit more difficult to play. You're going to have to build around it more because it is really strong. If every mill deck could just slot this in without thinking, that would be kind of a problem. So I have a feeling this is going to be in most mill decks, though. So you're going to see these interesting moments where, you roll out your range damage and you're like, yes, yes. And they go, I'm going to electroshock that random 1 blaster that I don't care about because you're a mill deck, and you're like, no, you saw my plan. So I think it allows for some really interesting plays. Okay. Let's see. The next card that we didn't get to last time. Where is it? Here it is. Decisive Blow. This card is really awesome. I mean, this is an amazing late game card. So, yeah, you have to have melee showing, but that's the deck you're going to play this in, right? This is a great, Dooku closing out the game, Kylo closing out the game, Vader closing out the game. If your deck is set up so that you can have a melee character closing out the game, Qui-Gon Ray, this is incredibly powerful to be able to do something like, I'll claim the battlefield, I will roll out, I roll out a whole bunch of melee, you roll out, you roll a god roll, I'm in big trouble. No, I'm not. I will pay 3, resolve my melee damage, or actually only one of them, and then boom, destroy your whole turn. This is going to be a card that really upsets people at points, and it's going to be frustrating, but it's really strong. It's neat to have a card like this in the game because it is really expensive. It's very much a late game card. You're going to have to be saving it. It also encourages some smart play from your opponents to maybe try to find ways to get cards out of your hand, to try to pull this specific card, maybe to put cards in their deck that lets you see into the person's hand. Like the next card we're going to talk about, even if they can't pull this particular card, then they know they have it. And it's really cool because they have to have their dice rolled out, so they can maybe try to work around this. They can make you not resolve your melee damage, or at least one of them, until you roll them out. It's just a really cool card. It's going to be crazy amazing with fast hands, right? So you've just got a dude with fast hands and a couple melee dice on him. Oh, no, I'm sorry, fast hands won't work because it's not taking another action. But we'll say maybe 4 speed, it'll work. It's going to be a really good card. If you can cheat out actions, it's going to be crazy. Something like Ray with a Vibro Knife would be really strong to be able to go, your opponent goes first, even they had the battlefield, they roll out a whole bunch of damage, and then you just go Vibro Knife, ambush onto Ray, roll, play the decisive blow, and blow them out. You would either need 5 or just do an override at that point, but it's gonna be a really strong card. It's gonna be something that you really have to think about and play around as well. Last card for now. I'm sure there'll be 20 more spoilers as soon as I'm done here. But Friends in Low Places, this is a really interesting card. It's amazing. It's probably a 2 of in every yellow deck for a while. To be able to, it does several things. 4-0, okay? 4-0, mind you. You do have to have a yellow character. Look at your opponent's hand, right there. That's not terrible. Look at your opponent's hand for 0. Then discard an event that costs 1 or less. Well, we all know what that means, right? That means all of the most brutal things you could imagine. Electroshock. He doesn't like you. Of course, these are just ones from Awakenings. Tactical Mastery. Hit and Run. There's just a million awesome events that cost 0 or 1. Deflect. Whatever your opponent was hoping to screw you with, they cannot do that now. Force Strike. Oh my goodness. If Raider lost both of its 4 strikes and rolled poorly, it loses. But if it has its 4 strikes and rolls poorly early, it often does fine. So Friends in Low Places is going to be one of those cards that is going to be really, really strong and stronger in the hands of the better player. I love cards like that that reward the players who really know the matchups, who really understand, you know, what is the important card I really need to hit in this matchup. It also then gives them more information to sculpt not only this turn, but the next turn if their opponent doesn't reroll a lot. It's just a really, really good, solid, strong card. It's going to be in a lot of decks for a long time. It's neutral. Yellow is so good now with fast hands, Friends in Low Places. It just, I can't wait to see what else to give everybody. Because right now you're just looking at it like, so I play yellow? I just play yellow all the time? Okay, cool. All right, so that's today's spoilers. I'm sure I'll be back tomorrow with some more spoilers. I am going to stream a little bit this week, so if you want to check me out at Twitch, Tiny Grimes, I'm going to stream some Spirit of Rebellion stuff. I'll tell you what, Vader has some really fast hands. I'll just say that. I'll just say that. All right, I had just finished recording today's spoiler episode, and then FN-2199 dropped, so if I said something earlier that kind of talked about him but didn't, that's why. So here he is. We're going to talk about him. Because I think this guy is really, 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 really strong. So he's not that great when you look at his dice and his cost. 10-13 with 11 health is really good, actually. But his dice are pretty weird and blah. A 1, a 1, a 2 for a resource. Not great. They're not phenomenal. What makes him potentially scary, just terrifyingly good, especially long term, is this ability. After you play a weapon on this character, roll the weapon die. Notice, not activate this character. Roll that weapon die, and if you're able to, you get to immediately resolve it. So no matter what side you roll it on, as long as it doesn't have a pile of blanks, or pluses, by the way, pluses are going to be dangerous with this guy, you just resolve it. So right now there's not a ton of weapons that work really well for that, but there are a pile of them. And as we move forward, there's going to be more and more. So let's think about what that means. Let's say you start your turn, you put a 2-cost weapon on him, you roll that weapon, it comes up as a 2 damage, you immediately resolve it. Cool. Guess what? That weapon die goes on him now. Now you get to roll him. But no, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do instead is overwrite that weapon for free, mind you, with another 2-cost weapon. Roll that die out. Oh, we got another 1 damage. Cool. Good news. Next action, overwrite that weapon. Roll out that die. We roll another 2. Okay, that's good. That's good. Now we're going to roll them out. We're going to roll a 1, and a 2, and do 4 more damage for a grand total of, 2, 4, 5, 4 more, 9 with just FN for the 10-13 guy. That's crazy town. It's not always going to work that well, and I think right now even less so because we don't have quite enough weapons. We don't have quite enough weapons that have enough damage size that don't need or that aren't modified sides. But man, as that pool grows, and there are already some, and there are some that we haven't seen yet in this set that are really strong in this regard, FN's going to be real strong. Really, really strong. I think he's going to be a contender long term for one of the top 10 cards in the game, one of the top 10 characters in the game. I don't know exactly where he's going to fit in that. It's certainly going to depend if we can find a really great pairing for him for 10-13. I mean, Vader, the new Vader at 17 elite, him elite for 13 is not bad. I don't think you need him elite. I think you really only need him at 10, which gives you 20 to play with. That's IG-88? I mean, put him in a really heavy weapons IG-88 deck where you have fast hands. You get to roll out IG-88 when he hits his special. He gets to put back those weapons that you've been screwing around with FN and discarding. You play mostly yellow weapons. You put them on IG-88 for free or for a substantially reduced cost. I don't know. I mean, I feel like FN is going to be really, really good long term, and I think even in this set, we're going to see a use for him. We already saw that card that said, discard as many weapons as you want to get money, so there could be some deck that's something around 20 weapons, a 20 weapon deck, and you just keep looping them on FN, keep playing them on IG-88 for free or cheaper, so IG's loaded up with 3 early. I don't know. I'm really high on this guy. I have to see the full set. What I really need is it in a deck builder, right? I need all the weapons to be nicely, neatly organized for me, where I can sit down and go, okay, okay, we can do all this crazy stuff. Because the thing is, if you build your deck wholly around FN and his 11 health, he's gonna die. I mean, he's not gonna last the whole game. As soon as your opponent goes, whoa, hold on. What did you just do? You just overwrote and resolved again? You done it. I didn't know that's how he worked. No, that is how he works. You sure? Okay, new plan, guys. Kill that guy. That's gonna make things a little bit rough on him. So there needs to be not just exploiting FN, but then you need that backup plan, and maybe that's IG-88. Maybe that's something else. I don't know yet. I am very excited about him though, and he's probably the spoiler that I'm most excited about today. I mean, there's been so many, my head is spinning, but he's really, really good. All right, so I'll see you next time on Tiny Grams Games.